Nice one.
And we're away again.
It's a great way to start it.
The challenge is on for a different tune every week. Isn't that right?
I think that's what we're setting. So, yeah, every week, different guitar, different tune.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's about 16 different guitars in the Emerald range at the moment. So, that's covered for the next 16 weeks.
Cool.
I'm just looking forward to the week you're playing the lefty.
I know. I've been doing my left. I've been doing my left hand practice. It's a tricky one, the lefty now. The rest of them, the alternative range are for no problem. It's the lefty.
But you've been playing the Amicus quite a lot recently.
Yeah, I love it. I guess it's just having an opportunity to being in the office and stuff to be able to play one that are hanging around the office here, and I love it. I take it home and the kids think it's one. It's a beautiful little guitar. It's for a kid's guitar, but they have no idea, the kind of complexity that it requires to play even something like an Amicus with double strings. It's so cool. Like,
yeah, it's definitely it's kind of the most misunderstood guitar, I think, in a range. People look at it, they don't really know what to call it or what to classify it as. It doesn't really have much of a benchmark.
Yeah. They're always talking about the mandolin and stuff, and reference to mandolin, but
and it definitely has that, but it has so much more. And I think it's been really interesting seeing how different people approach it. Because it's definitely not the same. People don't play it like just all bluegrass stuff or mandolin kind of things that you would normally expect. I've heard people playing fingerstyle and shredding on it with distortion and all kinds of unusual things.
Yeah, Davey gives it a good shred as well too.
He does. You guys are definitely putting it through his paces at the moment.
It sticks it fine now. So
very good. So what have we got going on this week, Mark?
Well, so here we are again, another podcast, which is great and very exciting. We've got a great guest coming up today, and it's going to be a fantastic interview. Looking forward to it. We're going to talk a little bit today about some of the sessions happened in the cottage sessions and how they're going, and we're also going to take a look at a little feature of a guitar player that has been using your instruments for a while, Alistair, and actually probably inspired you to come up with a design on a couple as well too.
Absolutely.
So
very inspiring guy.
And we're going to show a little video, and of the customer sent in a beautiful little video of him playing a lovely piece. So we can take a look at that also.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have Kim. So
it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Finally show my face.
So welcome, Kim, to the studio.
You're kind of the hidden one now. You're always a little bit shy about coming in and being part of the videos and what's going on. So it's good to finally get in front of the camera.
Happy to stay in the background, kind of work away there, and yeah.
Oh well, maybe it's time to get you more in the limelight. We need a little bit of beauty in this, though. It's a bit too male dominated. I think all the stuff that we've been doing over the last while.
Beauty and professionalism we need around.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Right, so, thanks, Mark.
Sorry to drag us all down, the rest of us. But, now, so so welcome, Kim. It's good. We're looking forward to chatting to you, and it's great to have you in the studio here. So,
thank you very much.
Welcome.
So I suppose the first thing we can talk about is the cottage sessions last Wednesday, and where you were the star. So it was cottage sessions number 3.
Cottage sessions number 3, yeah, and I had the privilege of being able to play in that beautiful 200-year-old cottage. And as I was saying to you last week, Alistair, when I was standing in the middle of that spot with the acoustics around me and the high roof and the ceiling, and it's from a performer's point of view, it's out of this world. I'd been working on the other side of it for the past few weeks, and mixing the sound and on the other side of it, and it is nothing like standing in the red zone itself and experiencing that. I'll tell you, I had a lovely time playing that.
So next week's performance, I might have to sit maybe beside whoever's performing just so to get that experience, because it's definitely, because we're setting it up for broadcast. We don't really have anything in the room. There's nothing projecting back. It's just monitors going forward. So we're not, hearing quite what you're hearing.
It's not. It's definitely not what the sound that goes out on the live stream. I'm sure people can appreciate that too. It's set up for a difference, like a studio, like a television studio style, so that what you're hearing there is not exactly what's getting broadcast. But I loved it. I thought it was great, and it's good to see people tuning in from all over the world. It's good to see local folks on. It's good to see music fans and people appreciating the guitars and appreciating the music. I've had a great feeling from it, and watching through the comments and the very kind responses is, very heartwarming.
You the shape of things I have done. Come back to tell me I've done wrong. The silhouette, that hanging tree, it's not looking good for me. Wonder how I got to here, where I let it disappear. I look inside, there's ghosts in the fire, ghosts in the fire. Every time I look inside, there's ghosts in the fire, ghosts in the fire. With the red lights flashing me to stop, the waves are high, the boat's been rocked. Well, I've been hiding, but I've been caught. It looks like there's no way out. I wonder how I got to here, 'cause it's not time to look behind. 'Cause every time I look inside, there's ghosts in the fire, ghosts in the fire. Every time I look inside, there's ghosts in the fire, ghosts in the fire. Every time I look inside, there's ghosts in the fire, ghosts in the fire.
I think it's inspiring to hear music being played on our premises, on our property, and I think myself and Kim, it's been kind of a dream for a long time to find ways to bring more music in. And really that's the first. We've done performances outside, or we've recorded little videos, but it's the first time there's been really like a full, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind
the
of,
first time there's been a full performance here, those last 3 weeks. So it's I think
been really special.
Yeah.
It's things that we dreamed about years ago, and it's taken 22 years coming, 22 years past.
Yeah, 22 years.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of hard work, and at the start when Alistair started dreaming about guitars and made his very first one, I wasn't the most encouraging person. It was kind of like, he brought it in and showed it to me, and I was like, really? It was like, it's a bit heavy, and it stinks of fiberglass, and I think the first one was made out of fiberglass, wasn't it? Or
it was, yeah.
You're probably thinking along the lines of, would you not go and get a real job?
Not really. We had other stuff going on in the background. Alistair's always been, at the start in the early days, we had to fund the guitar project. So there was always, his father's business, which we both worked in, going on. So it was, Alistair was working big hours, and I think, when people see now, and, I've had a few people say to me, oh, it's, an overnight success. It may take all of a sudden overnight, something changes and shifts, and somebody all of a sudden gets recognised for their work.
Yeah.
But, when you've been there and you've lived it and breathed it, and, had to both work long, hard hours to achieve something, and we're both so proud that, the hard work and the sweat and actual physical tears from both of us at different points.
Yeah.
And this journey, have been worth it, just to to sit back now and look at it is just, both of us are pinching ourselves and thinking, is this really what we've achieved? Is this really what all the hard work, got us to? And we're very thankful for that.
I think that's what the Cottage Sessions is. It's just seeing all that kind of played out. You're seeing the instruments being played. You're seeing that little building that's sort of like a symbolism of a little bit of the journey in a lot of ways. And you see the musicians and the music, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, you as I say, you before, Alistair, you said you kind of started your when you were a teenager, or when you were 12, you started your first business in that little building that now, years and years, decades later, is now producing, you're doing live sessions from. So, that long-term goals and objectives, there's an argument for it right there.
Yeah, I still have a long-term goal for that building. It's Kim's building, let's just say, and maybe she'll talk about that a little bit further in the interview. But no, I see the Cottage Sessions developing. We're starting off doing the live streaming because that's really the only option that we have at the moment. But hopefully next year we're going to start doing a monthly, physical audience concert, which will be very intimate, very special. We'll probably try and find a way to broadcast them as well. And still carry on maybe some live broadcasts. But yeah, it's just I want to really make that a special little place. So
And it's good. And as I say, I really, really enjoyed it last night. And thanks to both of you for giving up the space to allow me to do that and to perform as well. It's a real treat.
And you played a good array of instruments.
I did, yeah. I tried to be honest, I was thinking about it because I've known the Cottage Sessions was coming up, and I was really thinking about what guitars, and it's I guess it's so lucky being able to look at a wall and pick that's the guitar for that song and that's the guitar for that song, I have been thinking about it for over the past week, thinking of organising guitars into a set. Like I do at most gigs anyway, I have certain guitars for certain songs, but it was really lovely to be able to play a particular, like the X30, that beautiful green X30, and to be able to attach it to songs like the Sweet Rescue Blues and stuff last night. It almost brings the story to life even more, being able to choose a beautiful guitar and to bring it out in the song as well. And everything, when I'm looking down through the comments from the videos and how much people kind of they're identifying with the names in the X10 and the Amicus, and they're starting to really become known vocabulary for a lot of the people following the streams too. So it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my favourite thing, is seeing people play our guitars. It's, you can create something, but unless somebody's willing to pick it up and play it, and even, all the different Facebook posts that go out, I'm kind of, as Alistair, in the background, but I'm always watching what's going on. I'm always watching comments that are made.
Now you're filling fear into all the people that are commenting, and they'll be like, I'm going to get this right. Kim's watching.
No, but it's so encouraging, just whenever, you see all these positive comments, you get the odd one, but I think you get that in anything that would be negative. But, and one of the things I actually love is when we get a negative comment, that kind of our customers we don't even have to say anything or delete it or block it or, do anything with that. Our customers are straight in there to defend us, and it's just lovely to see that we have genuine people who love what we do, and seeing people play it. And, I love when customers play videos, tag us in it and share it, and then we get to share it on our own platform. I think that's a real highlight for me. Just, we're so proud that, people get to experience something we've created, not physically, but, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a testament to the design and the playability of the guitars also, that you can see them played in different styles of music, and they can be used in so many different various styles of music. So and they look and sound so amazing, and and they play so amazing from a player's perspective. So I think it's a real testament to the instrument themselves.
Yeah, and you used the 12-string quite extensively last night as well.
Yeah, actually,
I think you probably used it more than any of the other instruments.
I did, yeah. I would say I did. I write a lot of my music on 12-string, and a lot of my songs are 12-string based. I would say at least 50% of them. So the likes of the Chimera that's why it has the double neck, which I really like. It gives me 12s and 6 and 1. But that lovely Royal Ebony that I was able to play that's a stunning guitar.
It really is. Both in sound and looks.
Yeah, so the guitars like that just run out of the place here. You can't keep them on the shelf. So they're
Well, that one
gorgeous.
is currently on the shelf, so hopefully it's not by the time this airs, but it is, so maybe somebody will jump and buy that.
I know there was a lineup of people looking for it now, from what I've heard. So,
Oh, good.
So there you go.
That's good to hear. But but so you, like, a lot of people think of 12-string, just maybe strumming big chords on it. You kind of take it a little bit of a different direction in your style of how you approach it. You definitely are not a traditional 12-string player.
No, not in the kind of Leo Coates type form, I use all open tunings on my 12 strings, certainly, and mainly I would use Dadgad, and obviously being in here in Emerald, Done Across is all on Dadgad, and that's quite a signature tune for the 12 string here, the X2012. Also, like, I would use an open D tunings for a lot of my slide work as well too. I didn't actually do much slide on the sessions, but I do a lot of slide on 12 string also.
I don't think you've come across anybody else doing slide in a 12 string.
I definitely stole the idea from a lot of folks I would have met over in Australia when I spent some time over there.
Okay.
Guys like Jeff Lang, John Butler, Xavier Rudd, even Ben Harper to a certain extent, and I picked up a lot of tips and techniques from watching those guys. But if you go back as far as like Leadbelly in the 1940s and 50s, he was a 12-string player, and a lot of stuff he did. And then of course we're all like some Rory Gallagher and stuff, we're covering songs like Western Plain and stuff, and there's lots of slide in there. Jimmy Page did a lot of stuff on 12-string slide as well too. That's
all right. I'm going to have to go looking and find some of this stuff.
Yeah, so it's
open my eyes.
It's all out there. I suppose a lot of the information in relation to the kind of types of guitars and stuff. It's with social media and with the amount of data and information we have available to us nowadays. You can really dig in to find out what instruments these guys used and how they're using them and the tunings and stuff. So it's a different era for guitar players now, to be able to.
No, I think the 12 string's fascinating. I think I just love the big sound that it gives, and then using it with open tunings, and then combining it with the didgeridoo, and it's just, it all builds up in layers of just full sound. So I think that's really what's interesting. It's, and maybe a little bit recently by just by the situation we're in, you really layer that up to create a big sound just from being one person there.
Yeah, I use a looper. I use a RC300, which is multi-track looper. It's a great boss pedal, and it allows me to put on multiple loops and to also take off multiple loops as well. So it's a very versatile tool for live use. And even if I'm just using a simple, just on my, like I'm using an X10 or something like that, there I'll multi-loop on a lot of stuff, and it gives a feeling of being and playing with a band. And currently, under current circumstances, it's been a long time since any of us have been able to play together as as musicians. So the best we can do is my friend the looper at the moment.
You just do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a good approach. But I'm just thinking now, just as we're talking, 12-string Weissenborn.
Yeah, there's definitely scope for certain instruments there. You're on the right track, and I know the Weissenborn project is exciting for a lot of people out there. So adding extra strings to it too.
12-string Weissenborn.
Keep thinking about it, Alistair. They're definitely yeah. I know someone that not to direct it off again, but I know a great guitar player that uses a 12-string National Steel, and the sound out of that thing is absolutely huge because it's got the tricone etc. on it too. It's a really orchestral sounding instrument as well.
Yeah, and I guess so the jangle of the 12-string and the resonator all combined.
Yeah, big sound.
I've already started thinking about putting a resonating cone and a Weissenborn as well. So I mean, I wanted to build it as a Weissenborn, but I mean, it's a platform that we could use and build it into a resonator type thing as well. So
I'm looking forward.
So whenever I get time to get back to custom, because custom's something I've been trying to, as we talked about, stay out of a little bit because of just so many other things going on at the moment. But I'm looking forward to getting back in and exploring all kinds of different designs. And that's what it does, is music inspires the different ideas. You know, you hear something or you hear a sound, and then you go and see what you can do and actually build an instrument that can maybe enhance that or, you know, deliver it.
Yeah, and you've done that. That's a good lead into our next section, because you've done that with this particular instrument, the Synergy uke, and our experience with Jan Lorenz also on it.
Yeah, so I mean, specifically I want to talk about Jan Lorenz, and he posted a little blog. He posted it on his Facebook page where he was just talking about the Synergy ukulele and just how much it inspired him and how much he enjoyed it. And it started me to think actually about how much he inspired me, because really whenever I first started thinking about building a harp ukulele, the first thing you do is you go to YouTube and see who's actually been playing them and does that thing actually exist. And I think the first thing I came across was Jan Lorenz playing Scarborough Fair.
Okay.
And it was just absolutely magical. So, you know, that was definitely a big inspiration. I was definitely listening to his music while I was designing the molds for this and putting the specs together. And it's such a cool little instrument, and we'll certainly listen to a little bit of Jan Lorenz playing that. Yeah, so I mean that's what inspires you when you hear music being played like that on an instrument like this, you know. So whenever I was building it, I just could only imagine that Jan Lorenz could do something so magical on it.
Yeah.
But so I've been watching his YouTubes and I'm watching his music, and I think what has been fascinating is just seeing the number of different instruments this guy plays. You know, I see him on little 12 strings and on the amicus and on one of our harp guitars and playing electric. I don't think I've really ever come across somebody that seems to be a master of so many different styles and so many different types of music. So just a really, really interesting character, and lives, I think, in the mountains in Switzerland. So hopefully we're going to get him on here at some stage and have him as a guest by video chat on our podcast. I think I'm sure he has a lot of interesting stories. Yeah,
there's so much interesting music out there, and when you have an instrument like that and you send it out into the world and you see the music that it creates and sends back again, it's inspiring now. You know.
Yeah. So. Absolutely.
Hi guys, here is Jan Lorenz from Switzerland, and I would like to present you this fantastic harp ukulele which Emerald Guitars from Ireland sent me yesterday. It arrived yesterday. It's beautiful, incredible craftsmanship, I must say. Flawless design. It has a pickup also installed. Incredible sustain, incredible intonation. In fact, I rarely had an instrument which is so accurate. Just listen to incredible sustain. They are actually not made out of wood, they are made out of carbon fiber, which is very interesting. Also, for me, living in Switzerland with its constant changes and weather changes and temperatures, and so this will not get out of tune so easily, and you will have very few problems with this material.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Really interesting to watch, and your alternative range is something that's coming up in a discussion video or information video this week, Alistair. So you'll be talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that went out just last Thursday, I think, where we just had a walkthrough looking at all the different range of the different unusual guitars. We kind of talk. It's hard to give them classification, but we talk about the alternative range. So the non-6 strings, and that makes up a larger percentage of what we do than maybe most companies. But yeah, it's an interesting direction that we've kind of gone, and I suppose it's been a fascination by different types of music. You know, you just like if you're a musician, you get inspired to maybe record songs or write songs that are different directions. So I'm kind of a little bit of a wannabe musician, and I've never been able to master the art of playing that well. I can play a little bit, but for me, making music is about making the instruments that people will make the music on. Which has led us into things like the harp guitars, the double necks. Like obviously you play the Chimera and love it. Things like the Kestrel archtop, which really was something that was designed as a labour of love, just purely on the beauty of it. And actually, just this week, somebody contacted me, and I've been kind of saying I'm not taking on too many custom orders, but somebody asked could we build an archtop acoustic bass. So jumped at that idea. So I think we're going to do that. So yeah, Kestrel bass. I think it's going to be really, really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, acoustic basses, I guess, fits into that alternative category. We don't do an awful lot of, or there is not a lot of acoustic basses out there, but it was fascinating to think about how to use carbon fiber in a way to build a better acoustic bass. So building it larger with great ergonomics, so it was playable. Making a soundboard that was very responsive, and then structure that just holds together really well. So carbon really lends itself well to that. So that's been a good direction. And things like the Synergy Uke, very alternative instrument, but something that makes beautiful music. And now the Weizenborn. So so definitely check out that video. It'll give you a little bit of a deeper insight into some of those and why they've been designed.
Great. Yeah. Okay, so I guess the highlight of our show today, the podcast, we're going to welcome Kim.
Thank you.
And we're going to speak to Kim a little bit, and
yeah, it's good to have Kim on the show.
Yeah.
So we talked about this, and we thought that the natural way to do this will be bring guests in that are going to be starting at the beginning and charting a bit of the story. So last week having Bill Siebold was quite special, and he was the pre-Kim era, and then Kim came along very rapidly after that, and that changed the direction. So so it's perfect lead in to have Kim as part of the show and part of the story.
You were saying that you were nearly on your way back to America again. Is that how you guys met, or did you was it around that time?
We actually met at a youth club that we both went to. I was 13, and Alistair was almost 18, and we had So there's like a game that we used to play at the youth club, which was kind of round the table. So it was kind of like where everybody kind of got round the ping pong table, and you kind of picked up the bat and were able to hit it across the table to the other side, and then whoever was at the other side picked up the other bat. So as we were playing this game every weekend, kind of realised that this guy kept shoving past everybody. So when I was at the end of the table, he was at the other end. And it was so it was kind of fun, and then just kind of got to know him a bit better. And then a few of my friends had kind of lied about my age. I didn't realise they did. And Alistair asked me out on a date, and we went out on a date. And then on that date, I think he quickly realised I was 13 and he was about to go to uni, and I had just
almost 14.
and I had almost just started secondary school, so he was like, "This is not happening," and we kind of stayed friends and didn't keep contact because there was no mobile phones in those days.
That's right.
So kind of he went off, did his thing, I went off, did my thing for a few years, and then when I was 17, we met again. I think it was kind of, we met, and then we decided to meet up the next day, and then we decided to meet up the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and within 5 months we were engaged. I think in those 5 months we had only seen each other one weekend that you'd gone to London. It was the only time that we didn't.
Pretty much just seen each other every single day. Yeah. So, I mean, so the natural lead in from the Seabold story was I had come back from working in St. Louis, and I came back and was working in the family business. Was very unsettled for a whole year, not really, wanting to go on and do something different, and that had kind of set my whole inspirations of going back to America and things. So I'd actually started to talk to Bill Seabold about going back over there, maybe working for them, and I started the process of applying for my visas to go back to America. So on New Year's Eve, I told my parents that I wanted to go back to America, and they were disappointed but supportive. And then I started the process, and on the day that I sent off my application, it was the 22nd of January, and it was the day that evening I went and called in with Kim, and that was the end of that.
That was the end of your world travel, certainly at that time.
Do you know, it really did change very fast.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really talked about going back to America after that again.
No, you had mentioned it a few times, but I think I'm a real home bird, and kind of family is really important to me. So I kind of was like, if you're wanting to really pursue a dream in America, you're with the wrong person, because I love America and we travel loads there and we have family in America, but I love my Irish roots, I love my Irish heritage, I love being surrounded by family, so it was so important to me that we would be rooted here, and we could travel the world if, those opportunities came up. But I think I made it very clear from the start that I wasn't planning on moving anywhere, so he would need to make sure that would be in his plans too, because I'm kind of stubborn. So when I kind of make a decision on something, I'm pretty hard to shift. So it was at that early stages then, Alistair, you were starting Emerald Guitars, or was there something else that you were doing at that particular time? Just after the kind of Bill Seabold time, where we had you in?
Yeah. No, so at that stage I come back and was working in the family business, and I suppose that's why I was quite unsettled. It didn't feel like I was doing anything that was my own, and it was hard working in the family business. My father got on, but it was just a different dynamic or different expectations of what we wanted to do. So shortly after that, then once myself and Kim got together, I started developing a bit of a sideline business. And I took over the composites side of the family business. So we sort of split it into two different companies. My dad was handling the engineering side, I was doing the composite side. So that's what we were working on for the first while, kind of before we actually got married, and then just afterwards. And then the guitar thing came along a year after we got married, wasn't it?
Yeah, just before the end of our first year. I think it was, whenever we started going out, I knew it was serious, and we got engaged after 5 months. We started, just planning for a wedding. Alistair would have had me married that year, but I was like, no, we'll wait a few years. But, and then in the process of planning our wedding, Alistair's mum had got sick. So then I had an opportunity to come in and help in the family business just with that process, just to be able to help out to allow her time to rest and to kind of, just go through different treatments and stuff. So we had planned to get married in May 98. And then, his mum just, her condition had kind of deteriorated. And we knew, she wasn't going to make it. She wasn't going to be around. We kind of were just made aware that, things weren't going as planned and the treatments weren't working. So we had decided to bring our wedding forward. So even that, in the early days, it was just, again, it was all about family, and we brought our wedding forward with like 4 weeks to organise it. And, we were so blessed because everybody that we had booked for May had, all of a sudden had this one Saturday that was free. And the only person I think that wasn't free was our band, who then reshuffled their gigs to make sure they could be there. But everybody held the date in May as well in case things just wouldn't go as planned in that situation. And it was a lot of pressure, but at the same time, it was just lovely to be able to be part of the family business from an early stage, and just, to be able to do that and bring our wedding forward for his mum. I think after then, we were just newly married. It was only 6 weeks after we got married, your mum passed. And, it was, I think you really threw yourself into work at that stage. I think it was the way of distracting your mind of just the grief and stuff like that. And, it was hard days. Like the first few years of our marriage were difficult. You threw yourself into work, and then not long after we got married, I had got pregnant, and then, that pregnancy, I had lost the baby, pretty early on. So it was kind of just, it was a very emotional couple of first years. And I think that was where you just headlonged into finding a project to do. You'd made your first guitar.
I think it was the summer after we got married that I made the first guitar, which was purely just a hobby idea. It wasn't an idea to start a business, but it very quickly developed from a hobby to.
I think you just enjoyed it, and then and then started kind of, you made another one and another, and they just kept getting better and better. At the start, again, as I said earlier, I wasn't as positive on the first one because it was, made from fiberglass and didn't smell great, and thought, who's going to play this? It was heavy, and but at the same time, I was, make another one, and Alistair did that. He just, Alistair's very creative, and I think that came through the family. Like his mum would have been very creative, his dad would have been very creative, and he just, had that kind of from them. He had so many, as I said in his last podcast, it was just having those opportunities where you had tools at hand, you had parents that were encouraging, and, along that way. But yeah, he kind of pursued it. And I kind of seen very early on that Alistair, when he put his mind to something, he was determined that he would do it. So, you did definitely pursue the guitar dream. And I was kind of like, are you sure? I think because we got married so young, one of the things we talked about was Alistair actually and I are very different. We don't like the same movies, we don't like the same food, we don't like, but I think it's that kind of, we do complement each other in a lot of ways.
The opposites dynamic.
Yeah, it's that opposites attract dynamic. But, but one of the things we did say in our early days was that, because we were getting married so young, is that we wouldn't, we would let each other pursue their dreams, that we wouldn't kind of stifle out each other's dreams, and that we would be encouraging to different opportunities that would come each other's way. And just because we were married didn't mean that we could have our own unique things in our lives and stuff. And, so I think the guitar business was Alistair's thing, where he just loved creating and loved making stuff. And, he's very gifted and talented, and I'm very proud of him.
Yeah.
And what he has built up over the years. And it's even like some of the custom builds that he does. I remember your first custom build for Steve Vai. He had this passion, had this album, and he's like, I think you'd met him. You'd gone when you started making the guitars. He'd gone to the NAMM show, his first NAMM show, and he's seen, all these guitars and all these instruments and all these famous people and stuff. And Steve Vai had been a fan of from his younger days. And he came home, kind of was like, I'm going to make a guitar for Steve Vai. And then he showed me a picture of the guitar he was going to make for Steve Vai, and I was like, you're off your head. But he was determined he was going to make it. And I remember those first conversations where you'd made contact and organised to go over to his house. And it was just, you could see, I think Alistair in the early days said to me when he started making the guitars and decided, okay, this is something I'm going to focus on and do, was someday I'm going to make the best guitars in the world. And I believed him. You know, it was one of those things I just knew when he said it, that he was just determined that this was something he was going to do, and he was going to do it the best of his ability. So, yeah, when we seen those opportunities open up then when he was going to Steve Vai's house, and, you know, those pinch yourself moments where he would come out of his house and he'd phone me and he was nearly screaming down the phone. It's like, I just can't believe that happened moment, you know, but I was at home with young kids, you know, and some of those journeys you couldn't share, you know, but kind of lived it as he was making it. And, you know, those custom builds took a lot of work and a lot of time, and, you know, you're always sacrificing time. I think time is the only thing we ever argued about.
I think that's one of the things, because whenever you are pursuing these dreams and passions, it's I'm always excited about the build, and I'm consumed by the build. But whenever I'm consumed with something, I'm filled to the max with all the what I'm doing involved in. Then there's the vacuum that's created because of that. You know, so I'm disappearing out of home, and Kim's not seeing me for hours and days on end, and, you know, you're just obsessed with a project, you know, and I do get obsessed with something.
I always say, Alistair, when he's doing a custom build or when he's in that creative zone, it's blinkers on, you know, so kind of like horses, they put blinkers on so they're not distracted from left to right for safety. And I think Alistair works like that when he's doing a custom build or he's creating something new within the business. You know, I know that it's blinkers on. It could be for 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And I think when you're married to somebody that's creative, it's so important to give them that creative space. I think that's something I've learned through the years. You know, people talk about that kind of getting that work-life balance, but I don't think there's a such thing as work-life balance. You know, I really feel that, you know, there's times where Alistair can give more time to the family. There's times when he has to give more time to the business. So you're always kind of seesawing between, right, what we need to get done now, what do we need to achieve in this, you know, next few months. And it's kind of, you know, I think communication of what needs to happen is so important, because if you don't, then that causes conflict and stress. So it's kind of, you know, Alistair, you know, would always make me aware, okay, this is coming up. I'm going to be busy. It's going to take a lot of my time. So if I know that, then I can kind of, okay, give him the space and say, okay, you know, you can have that space for now. But then after that, I need some time and the kids need some time. But you know, we're blessed that the business is beside our house. So one of the things, you know, in the middle of the craziness and the custom builds and stuff, it was like, you have to come in for dinner. You know, you have to come down. It was so important to me that we sat down for dinner as a family around the table, because I found it was where the kids shared their stories. It was where we would sit and have a coffee after the kids left the table and just, you know, how was your day? How did things go? You know, and I think it's so important. You know, I didn't have that as much growing up with my own family. And it was something I wanted to create for our family, was that we would have those moments around the table as a family, just, you know, focusing on us, and the distraction of the words disappeared for at least an hour every day. You know, and even our kids, something our older children value. You know, the younger ones maybe not so much, they were wanting to leave the table, but nobody left the table until everybody was finished. You know, and it was just important to create, in the craziness of, you know, a business and everything that goes with it, that we had those family moments, you know, just to keep focused on that as well, you know.
Yeah, yes, it's very true, Kimmy. You're what you're telling is very inspirational and incredibly good advice and guidance to a lot of people, and a lot of young people out there that are maybe not only entering into relationships, but entering into relationships who are trying to find a work-life balance with their family and with their, you know, with their spouses or with their kids. And those things are as important as a business, but I guess I can really relate to what you're saying from, you know, having your husband as a creator as well, you know, like, you know, because as a music creator myself, when I get into the zone and something, if it's recording a new album or recording something like that, it ends up being a period of your life where you're really focused on one particular time. And it's not easy to let a lot of distractions in at those particular times. So I can see how something like that, Alistair, would really, if you get in the zone with whether it's a custom design or you're coming up with a new design for anything at all, you know, and you've come up with so many innovations in guitar around the factory in this business. I mean, it's easy to see that you had blinkers on, for sure. And
then whenever you're finished and you've finished that project, the first thing you want to do then is run to your partner, you know, and get that seal of approval. You know, and I'm sure you do that with your music, and I definitely do that with the guitars. You know, and the first thing I do is go down to Kim and, hey, Kim, look at this. What do you think?
Yeah.
And Kim will look at it, and I'm all excited, and Kim will look at it and go, I don't think you should have done that.
Not always. I think it's more.
But,
when Alistair,
but in a good way, because
Yeah.
it's good to, so, I'll show some people and I know I'll get a positive answer, but I'll show Kim and I know I'll get an honest answer. I'll get an honest and a critical answer, not criticizing, but,
Well, I think, it's
a critical
important.
view.
It's really important for me when, we have a customer paying money for an instrument, that the instrument they get is perfect. So in the early days when Alistair was creating things, if I saw like a tiny flaw or something in the carbon or something that just wasn't right, I'd say to Alistair, that would really annoy me. And if I paid for it, it would annoy me that it wasn't 100%. And I think that's something we've tried to strive for in the business, that every guitar, even though we have a bigger production team here now and our staff and stuff, it's still about the individual customer, always, and it's about giving them the best value for their money, and making sure that what they're getting is 100%, that they'll be happy with it. If they're not happy with it, they come back to us. We're determined, and that was one of the reasons I think we pulled from selling directly to shops as well, is they just weren't providing the customer service that we thought and we felt that our customers deserved. And I know what kind of some people are saying, they don't get to try the guitar out before they get it. But, and I think that is, people like to go into the shop and play it and stuff. But it's, for us, they just weren't given the same customer care and the detail and attention to detail that we would for each customer. So I think, it was important to us to make sure that was
personal connection.
That personal connection, because it's all about, Alistair talks about the stories. And I love hearing where guitars are going, who's getting them, having a look online at what they do. And, Alistair is constantly showing me videos of customers, look how, this guy plays this, and, or how this girl does that. And it's just lovely to see that connection with the customers. Whereas if they were sold through a shop, we wouldn't have the same connection, with our customers. So
yeah, definitely.
So, so we're at probably 6,000 plus guitars at the moment, somewhere. So, going back early on, Kim, do you remember in the early models? And I'm going to ask you, obviously about some of the early guitars that went out to the Eurovision and stuff. Also, you can tell me about some of those ones. But I mean, do you remember the designs going out early on, or do you remember some of those first guitars, along the Steve Vai guitar, the Mickey Joe's Eurovision guitar? There's a good story behind that one too. I mean, did you ever think, 22 odd years later, or 20 odd years later, you'd be sitting in a situation like the moment where there'd be 6,000 guitars have come out of the premises?
Yeah. Well, I kind of knew, I definitely knew that Alistair had a determination to, I think it's okay having a dream, but unless you're willing to put in the hard work and have the determination to achieve that dream, it won't ever happen. And I think that was really important for us, again, giving Alistair the creative space, and allowing him to pursue, because the guitar business was Alistair's dream, and then I came alongside, so I do all the accounts and the pay the wages and pay all the bills and keep an eye on the financial side of things. So that again freed Alistair up, that he doesn't worry about that stuff. He kind of, if there's an issue, I'll go and talk to him, but it was just important. But it's just, I think
I think we've had a lot of dreams, and we have seen them through, and it's, I think it's the greatest thing about having somebody that has been with you every single step of the way for the last 25, 26 years. We've built up these dreams together, and then we've actually seen them through, and everything we're seeing kind of coming to fruition at the moment with the apartment and the cottage and where the business is at and stuff. They are dreams, and I think we had some pretty big dreams, and maybe some people might have thought they were kind of maybe foolish along the way, or a bit pie in the sky. But I think we've pretty much achieved them, and it's great then whenever you get to that stage, you go, this is actually what we had talked about doing.
But you have to have a focus on something to achieve it, and I think it was just as you say, seeing those dreams come into play now. It was definitely worth the hard work, and along the way there were a few points where I had got tired of the long days and the long hours that Alistair had to work, and felt that I was at home with the children by myself a lot, and they were hard times. It wasn't plain sailing the whole way along, but it was important. It's the same as climbing a mountain. It's hard when you're almost at the top, I think, you know, there was a few points where I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. It's, you know, it's so much of his time is taken up, you know, and it was just reminding ourselves, you know, you don't give up because it gets hard. It's where you dig deep. It's where you find that extra stamina to keep pushing, because you don't know how close you are to the top of that mountain. You know, and I think for us, it was about 6 years ago. I think the business just completely shifted. I think it's when we went to direct sales.
Yeah,
Or just,
that-
around that
probably
period.
sort of 5-6 years ago, it started to get easier, you know. But,
Yeah.
but I think one of the interesting things has been all along the way is there would be a lot of times where I was getting to the stage where I couldn't do it anymore, and Kim would pull me up, or Kim might be getting to the stage where she couldn't bear it anymore.
It was seemed to
and
pull
I
each other
would-
up by the bootstraps. It was
So-
kind of, you know,
And I don't think there's ever really
Yeah.
been a time where the two of us hit that downer at the same time, thankfully. But
Yeah.
so there was always the energy in one or the other to kind of keep each other
motivated.
going and keep fighting for the dream.
Yeah.
Because it would definitely, there's a lot of times where it would have been a whole lot easier to stop. And probably.
Yeah, I think there was a few times I'd said to Alistair, would it not be easier just to get a paid job? You know, come home and relax, not have to think about things late into the night or have restless nights because things didn't work out the way you thought they would. You know, so I think, there were times where we kind of thought it would be easier to have just a 9-to-5 job, walk home, don't, you know, forget about it. And
Definitely been better paid and less hours.
But we definitely, I think we both knew that just wasn't us. You know, and we kept pushing forward. And again, it's been surrounded by family. You know, they say it takes a village to raise children, and I think it takes a family, good family support to build a business. You know, both my mum and Alistair's dad and his stepmom and stuff, you know, have been there the whole way along, cheering us on, you know, helping with the kids, you know, allowing us to travel with the guitar business and stuff, and, you know, our sisters and brothers and stuff. And, you know, everybody has just really supported us through this journey, which is just lovely. And that's what family's about.
Yeah.
It's just come alongside, and, you know, even friends, you know, as well, that would come alongside and encourage us, you know. I just think that's really important.
That's one of the really kind of strong characteristics in Irish family and culture as well too, is that because we're a small community, or we're a small island, there's a small population. I think a lot of the families chip in with whatever you're doing. For those that are lucky enough to be able to have, you know, family that can help out as well too. You know, it's grandparents become really, you know, they help they help whenever you're so busy at work, or whenever you just, you know, you need a break, and that's it. And a lot of time we're not in a country where you have to get on an airplane and fly to visit your relatives. You know, most of them are either local or they're short drive away. So we're really, really lucky in Ireland, and I think Irish family is a really important thing, and around the world you can see Irish family is a really important thing as well too. Different, I'm sure, like, you know, most people can appreciate that looking at the Irish tradition, but we're also travelers and adventurers as well too, and we need that support at home to be able to do that. You know, so
and that was one of the things, again, because we got married so young. You know, my mum had said to us whenever we had, you know, we had the children pretty quickly after we started the guitar business. Again, I always wanted to be a mommy. You know, it was kind of, because I came from a big family, like my mum's one of 10, my dad's one of 17.
Wow.
So it's like big Irish family. You know, and Alistair's dad's one of 8 and his mum's one of 4. So, you know, we both come from fairly big families, and it's important to us. But, you know, my mum had said to me, you know, that she would always give us a week or 2 weeks every year for me and Alistair, again, to focus back to us. Because when you have a really busy business and you have 4 kids, life's busy, and sometimes us gets lost in the middle of it. So it was kind of really important for us to have, you know, at least, you know, a couple of weekends away, or, you know, say if we had a guitar opportunity come up to travel to deliver a guitar, you know, mum would have looked after the kids, or Alistair's dad would have had the kids, and we were able to go do it together. And I think they were special moments when we were able to travel the world and do those adventures together, rather than me at home listening to Alistair's amazing adventures.
So is there any, tell me about your favourite of those adventures, Kim. What's been the highlights over the years?
There's been so many. Like, we have had, you know, when we sat down to kind of, Alistair, there was a book written, Stacey Blevins had done a book about the guitar business, and when we sat down to kind of look at all the different stories, it was really emotional, because there were so many opportunities and so many stories you know, even though there was years that were tough in the business, it was those adventures and stories that kind of kept us going to the next one, to the next one. You know, Alistair got the opportunity to make the guitar for Mickey Jo Hart for the Eurovision Song Contest.
That's right.
So a lot of people know the famous green guitar that Mickey Jo played, and it was actually made by Emerald Guitars. But the guitar, you know, I remember when Alistair talked about Mickey Jo would actually be a relative. His mum is my mum's godmother.
Okay.
So there's kind of a family connection there. But Mickey Jo, Alistair had approached him about doing the guitar for him. But then I think the timeline of him needing the guitar to Alistair being able to make it was too short. So Alistair came in one day to the house and was like, where's your guitar? So Alistair had made me, after a few years in the guitar business, Alistair had made me a guitar. I convinced him, and like, you have to make me one that's made specially for me. And I was like, oh, it's in the room. Why? And he's like, oh, Mickey Jo's going to borrow it. I was like, really? I was like, no, I don't think so. And he was like, no, I do need to let him borrow your guitar, because Alistair hadn't even built himself a guitar at that stage. He had a few prototypes and stuff, but I don't think he actually owned one yourself.
Oh, really?
So Alistair convinced me to let Mickey Jo borrow the guitar for the kind of all this before and after the Eurovision stuff, but I haven't actually got that guitar back.
It's certainly one of the most famous emeralds out there too, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, I guess it kind of put Emerald on the map, Emerald guitars on the map a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, certainly locally, yeah. I mean, it was a big thing at the time, and I mean, the Eurovision Song Contest is it watched by, I don't know, 300 million people or 500 million people or something. It's ridiculous numbers. So it was definitely a big event.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try and get Mickey Jo on, and maybe you can interview him and ask him about that.
Ask him about your guitar. Is it ever coming back?
Yeah.
But I think that probably has resulted in any time I walk into the house and I'm looking for something, Kim's, what are you looking for? You know.
Well, Alistair, in the early days, like even when you were making the Steve Vai guitar, Alistair had come in, and I would see him kind of, you see Alistair doing like a RoboCop scan of the room, and I'm like, what are you looking for? What is it you want? And then he's over, you know, screwing something off one of the kids' toys, or he's, you know, taking apart something in the house, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I need that part. And I'm just like, and again, it's okay, take it as long as you replace it. And yeah, so
yeah, there's been one or two things taken out of the kitchen from time to time, and
Yeah.
you know,
like my weighing scales, hair dryers, what else do you? It was like, you know, in the early days, it was
trying to
anything
sneak things out.
up his jumper and all, you know, kind of walking out with your good hair dryer that you just bought, like,
Right.
yeah. But yeah, we've had fun moments like that.
That's all part of it.
It is. It's a great story, and the early years are I'm sure you can look back and you'd never think you were probably going to get out of them. But you know, after a few decades, you're here now, and you're sitting in this position. And Kim, you yourself are kind of taking. You're putting a lot of time into the cottage and the apartment and around the business and around the property. There's a lot of beautiful things happening.
Yeah.
And you're sharing that space with the world, and you're also sharing it with musicians that are allowed to come in. You know, but that for yourself, like, you know, what's going on with you at the moment in terms of, you know, you're really getting into Instagram, and you're you know, you've got a beautiful page there, Our Emerald Home, and it's really inspiring to look through what's being created and how you're showing it to the world as well too. It's lovely to see.
Yeah, you know, I've always been into interiors and home design, but all of our money for the last 20 years had to go to invest. Everything we made went back into the business to build it up, and anybody in business will know that. You're constantly reinvesting to expand the business. So I think in the last few years we've been able to do, you know, we've had a bit of extra money to be able to do some work to the house. So the dreams that I've had for the house were put on hold, while the dreams for, you know, for the business and stuff were created. And again, I always knew it would come back. You know, once we got the business built to a certain stage, you know, we'd be able to focus on the other things. So I've always been loved like Instagram, social media and stuff. I kind of love sharing inspiring quotes and stuff like that. You know, I always find myself, you know, I am an encourager, you know, and I try and be positive no matter what situation I find myself in. I try and find a positive in it. I think it's something we've learned to do over the years. But so I think I created Our Emerald Home more to kind of document the build journey and, you know, getting the cottage done. You know, it was a little derelict building there that, you know, had been just in the entrance coming into the property, and it just needed some work done to it, but it took money to do the work. So I think when we decided that we were going to redo it, I just, again, going back to your Irish heritage, I love thatch cottages. And I just thought how amazing would it be to have our own little thatch cottage. And because, a lot of our customers are American, and, we have the pleasure of having customers come visit us. Well, not at the moment with COVID, but, we love that when customers get to come and travel, see the business, and maybe an opportunity to take and show them a wee bit of Donegal, where we're from, what inspires us. It's lovely to host customers, and that's again why the apartment was built. When we were building that, it was so, if we had people come over, we'd be able to host them for a couple of days, be able to stay with us, and just again learn more about them, and and just share our home with them. And we always said when we made, or built the apartment, that it's not just for us. It's not for us. It's, to me, it takes family, it takes people in it for a building to come to life. So again, seeing the cottage sessions, seeing everybody playing in there, it's just, you're standing there, you're trying not to cry, but it's those dreams and those visions that we had years ago of all of this coming together. And it just seems everything has just seemed to fall into place for us in the last few years. So it's just been lovely to see that.
Because a lot of those buildings, a lot of the work and the things that we had kind of dreamed of have been on the go for quite a long time, like certainly the apartment, or the Emerald Studio as we call it.
Yeah.
It's been a long time in the building, isn't it, Kim?
Yeah, well, it was built and then put on hold because, the business needed a bit more money put into it. So the money we had got to finish it, we kind of had to redirect the business and stuff. And again, I think it was one of those things where it was frustrating at the time, but we knew we invested in the business, we would get the money, back eventually and stuff. So being able to have that finished, and it was lovely just to have, our staff Christmas party was the first event in it. It was the first day that it was finished. And, for us, we value our staff. We have 22 full-time staff, and it's amazing because it's the staff that are behind the scenes doing stuff. And I love when Alistair has a custom build and a customer coming to the factory to pick it up. Alistair will honour the staff. Like we normally gathers them together, and introduces each person and what they've done to the guitar. And it's so important as well for them to be recognised for what they do, because every guitar isn't made by Alistair. He may give it the last go over before it goes out the door, but we just have a fantastic team here at Emerald, and we're really proud of that team of staff that we have, because it takes so many people just to create even this. There's people behind the scenes, with cameras, and Andres is there somewhere.
Yeah,
I can't see with the lights. But it's lovely to have that hum of people around the place. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was saying, I feel like I live on a film set. So, just yesterday morning, everybody was in clearing out the cottage. Just, it's kind of a creative space for me. I love writing and stuff. So it's it's just having that space that's mine, to write. And again, we've had a gym at the bottom section of it and stuff. And, it's just nice to have.
Yeah. Kim was putting me through a yoga session a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, that was good.
That's all good.
Yeah.
It's a pretty amazing space for yoga.
Yeah.
As well as.
Because even those studio lights were able to be like mood lighting. We kind of had the yoga music playing in the background. It was really relaxing and stretching out after a good workout. But it's lovely to see it all coming together. And,
So I'm now Kim's project.
I remember, it's funny you say, I remember, because I've been coming up here for years, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years, or maybe even more, Alistair now, and I remember looking behind, going the unfinished buildings and the buildings around, and going look at that great big building there, and it's just unfinished. And then last year, when you invited me to the Christmas party, it was great to get invited to come along and to walk into that apartment last year and have all your staff there, and the catering there for the Christmas party and all, and to see it come to fruition, I'm sure it must have been a dream come true, and something like a building as beautiful as that.
Yeah, it was amazing that night. I mean,
from a shell.
Pretty much exactly 1 year ago today, so I'm pretty close to it.
6th of December.
Right, so pretty close.
Yeah,
I remember the date because it was so stressful, because we still had painters and plumbers and electricians there that day, and I think the piano arrived at lunchtime, and Alistair decided, I need somebody to play piano while we're having our staff Christmas dinner, and I was like, you seriously know how to lay pressure on? So it was just.
But it was like amazing. Everything else that we do, it's frantic and it's pressured, and it turns out perfect, So it was It was a really special moment, that one, for sure. Getting to share it with the whole staff.
Yeah.
But,
I think it was important for us to have the staff there as the first guests. Yeah.
So that's definitely a big part of your vision, isn't it, Kim, was working towards doing more interior design and developing it and that. So that's I suppose that building is an expression of both of our creativities, and it's...
Yeah, I come up with ideas. I love Pinterest. I'm constantly finding projects for Alistair. So he has a creative flair and I have the kind of creative inspiration. So I'm like, okay, I need this table made, and okay, I need this, swing seat designed. And, between Alistair and Damien, we're kind of busy behind the scenes making stuff as well.
Kim comes up with ideas and then drops it. That'll be easy.
That's a picture, and I think it'll be made in an hour. It's like, it's like, do you know how long it's going to take me to make that? But
isn't it great to have that space available just to get your mind clear and to appreciate to get some thoughtfulness into and some mindfulness into, and get away from the business and go to a space which is going to give you some relaxation, give you some time out of the busy, hectic schedule of the working week, etc.
Yeah. No, it definitely has worked well. And even for our kids, and this year, especially with lockdown and having to, be at home more, having that space was lovely just for the kids to, like, our girls play the piano and stuff. And, just to, I'd be in the house in the kitchen washing dishes and I can hear the pianos there. I'll have all the doors opened up and you can just hear the piano, kind of the sound of it. Or even if we have people in there doing a gig or testing guitars or stuff, I just love them in the house, and the music, it just echoes round the courtyard that you just hear music. There's always something going on. Yeah, that's cool.
Are the kids interested in much music? I'm sure they are.
Well, they all played. Like Amy Jean played the piano. Dylan played. I was always keen on the drums, and Alistair was like, no, you need to learn to play the guitar. And he was like, but don't want to play the guitar, Daddy, I want to play the drums. And he was like, well, you have to do a year of guitar lessons and I'll buy you a drum kit. So that was the deal Alistair made with them, and he actually learned to play the guitar. With sheer, he's like his daddy, he's sheer determined. And then he got the drum kit for Christmas, and he always said his daddy's drumming's better than strumming, Dad. So it's like,
drumming's better than strumming.
Yeah, so he still plays the drums. Maybe not as much now that he's at uni and his drum kit's still here. But and then Zara plays the piano, and Natasha had done piano lessons for a while, but she's taken up the ukulele. She's a big Billie Eilish fan. And she brought out a Fender uke.
I think it's the first instrument
that came into our house.
That
I've
actually bought, probably since I was at college, since I bought my first electric guitar.
Right.
And it was a Fender.
Yeah, Billie Eilish inspired Fender ukulele.
So
no way, right?
Because I built harp ukuleles, and that was no good for her because it's not the Billie Eilish one. So
I'm kind of trying to encourage Alistair to build an Emerald uke. So I'm like, it needs to happen. I would love to play the uke myself, but not a harp uke. I want a proper uke. So you never know. Down the line.
And there's only 4 strings on it. I like things with more strings.
It's not complex enough for you.
No.
It's that's good. It's great to hear that the kids are involved in it, and I know Dylan was kind of involved working here for a little while, probably past in the summertime as well too. So that's great for them to see guitars going all over the world, coming from their home, and but also their parents being so inspirational to so many people around. I would say it's probably really good for those.
And they give us a list of musicians as well that we should build instruments for.
Yeah.
And Natasha's very much, you need to build a guitar for Billie Eilish.
There you go. If you can do it for Steve Vai, Alistair, you can do it for Billie Eilish.
You never know if she's listening.
Yeah. Well, I love her music too. So.
But, she's great.
So there. I think because we've been very lucky in having met a lot of our musical heroes and fans that are people that we've been fans of through the guitar business. Like Bon Jovi and.
Oh, that was my favourite. It was one of my favourite moments where we were invited guests to Bon Jovi down in... The first time was down in the RDS.
RDS in Dublin.
Yeah, so we kind of were told there was tickets left for us. We went and picked them up by Hugh McDonald. Would be friendly with Alistair and had left a few tickets for us, and he said, we have a couple extra if you want to bring a few friends. So we brought a few friends with us, and we went down just picking up the tickets, expecting just to get the tickets, go into the concert. And it was like, oh, we're sending a golf buggy to pick you up. And we're like, really? So we got kind of escorted around to the VIP section, got to meet some of the acts before they were playing. And, saw the concert. We were and we were able to have food and stuff there. And then afterwards, I think we'd just gone back to our room with our friends to get changed for the evening to go for dinner. And we got a phone call to say if he's want to come downstairs and join us. So we're kind of like, okay, this would be cool, expecting loads of people to be there. And we go down and there's like these bouncers at the door. Like I'm kind of looking up and kind of standing either side of the door. And then we're kind of escorted into this room where you kind of look around and there's nobody but the band there. And you're like, I'm like, close your mouth, Kim, close your mouth. I'm like, and you're trying to breathe. It's like, right, don't be the crazy psycho fan. Just kind of breathe and chill out. And, I think it's always been mindful to be respectful when you get those opportunities, that these artists are, have worked hard all, for a few hours playing on stage and probably beforehand doing, sound checks and stuff like that. And this is their downtime and it's also their intimate time. So it's kind of, not pulling out your phone, not just saying, taking pictures where you're, so it's kind of being mindful of those things. But, I've had so many opportunities like that.
That was a surreal moment. Because, you grew up in the 80s listening to Bon Jovi, and wishing I had longer hair to be able to shake it about. But being in a room and meeting those guys and sitting there with the full band, just talking about guitars and stuff, and I had another opportunity a couple of years ago with the guys again.
Yeah, they all ended up as when I was telling a few friends with the whole Bon Jovi band in our bedroom, bar John himself. It was like they'd come up the next morning to check out a few of the guitars and stuff.
But the interesting thing, I think, whenever you meet these people, those are people that we grew up idolizing. They were on the world stage, the biggest band in the world. But whenever you meet them, they're other people with dreams and stories, and they've just been on a larger stage maybe than most others. But I think that's one of the things that we've always talked about is whenever you meet some of the most famous people, when you get to have an opportunity to talk to them on a level playing field, they're as interested in our lives and what we're doing as we are in their lives, and they're just ordinary people that have just excelled and they've done something
with amazing talents and stuff. And I think when you realise that, then you learn to relax around them. You're not so kind of that fanatic fan where I think they can sense that you're relaxed and you're not, a crazy super fan that...
You're not really that relaxed. I mean, you're sitting there, you're like... I'm a young guy from Donegal, and somehow I'm sitting here with John Bon Jovi there, and Hugh McDonald and Richie Sambora. And it was actually that first time that I started talking to Richie about double neck guitars, and that was the idea came then to build the Chimera.
Yeah, because he was a big, he used to bring it out for the Wanted Dead or Alive thing, the big ovation back then. So
we've had some amazing experiences, and it's been great to be able to share them together.
And even the kids, I think Westlife we'd built a few guitars for Westlife, so Amy Jean was able to go down and we met Ronan Keaton and and even with the Mickey Joe thing again, we met Louis Walsh and Kerry Katona, and we ended up all in Lily's or Bordello's for an after party. And it was kind of so surreal. You're kind of on this big couch and Brian McFadden sitting there with you and Kerry Katona, and she's lying with her legs over top of Alistair's legs. You're like, no problem. It's one of those moments where you're just like, this is really happening and this is what we work hard for. And, but we've had so many just really fun moments like that. And, NAMM Show, I think, is really one of our favourite yearly events that we hadn't been to for a while. You'd been this year and last year. But it's one of those, again, moments you're meeting all these artists and stuff and all these creatives that just... and I love the dress sense, and everybody's different and feel free to dress whatever way and express themselves whatever the way they want. It was just, again, amazing opportunities to experience that.
I was thinking of another one too that comes to mind as well, is Malaysia with the Phoenix Violin. That must have been some experience as well too, that one.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was another special one, because with the Phoenix, I think what was so cool about that one was the fact that the entire show was designed around that one instrument. It was the Phoenix Rising concert.
Oh, it was the first violin you made as well.
So it was the first violin, and the two of us went over and we were sort of guest honour there, and it was a pretty amazing experience.
He also came here as well.
And he came here, to have it designed initially. Yeah. But I think the thread through all these things, whether they're somebody super famous or somebody who's just passionate about what we do. It's people, and it's people sharing their stories with us and connecting with them. I think that's what the two of us have really connected with, and I think that's a big part as well. What we want to do with the apartment and with the cottage and really the whole place here in general. This is not your average factory. It's a little bit of something special set in the Irish countryside, and we want people to be able to come and experience it and be part of the Emerald family and share a little bit of our lives. And it's as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, because even with the cottage, we had, I said to Alistair, it's such a creative space. We talked about, once a month, kind of when things open up and the world returns to some sort of normality again, where we can gather for concerts and we can get together to create music. It's really important, I think, for us to have something in there. So we had talked about having like a monthly concert, having different people come, just different people inspire us, different people that, we feel, come and play some good music there. And, we're hoping to do it as a charity fundraiser, so I think it's important for me now that the business is at the stage it's at, is to, have a charity off the business. And again, would be a charity to kind of give into the local community. Mm-hmm. So I think, if my dream for it is that we would have a concert and that you wouldn't have to pay for a ticket, but you'd just give a donation for being there. And then that whatever was raised that night, we would pick a different charity every month, whether it's, your local community centre, the kids football club, or, the Foyle Hospice or Donegal Hospice or any of those things that you feel, that you could help out by. And I just think that's really important too, to give back to the community around you, so we're excited for those things to happen,
Yeah, and hopefully that'll be soon, because with the pandemic and COVID, it's put a stop to a lot of, or certainly put restrictions on being able to accomplish a lot of those things at the moment. So, but that's really any other future plans that you can share with us that's going forward, or any plans or ideas over the next few years, or where do you see yourselves in 10 years' time?
Well, I'm hoping maybe, 4 or 5 years' time that Alistair will slow down just a little bit, and it's busy, life is busy. I think when you have kids and you have work and stuff, life is busy for all of us. But, it's been a busy 22 years, but it's been, things have happened that we never dreamed would happen, and we've just really loved the journey as much as we've kind of, had those difficult times in it and stuff, but we just, we're just happy to see music being made and created. And, I think Alistair has a few exciting things coming up in the near future as well that haven't been shared yet. But kind of excited to see that happen. And
I'm sure we'll hear about them when he's ready to divulge them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's always projects in the pipeline and always will be. But Kim says she wants me to slow down, but it's also probably her biggest fear that I'd slow down and I'd be there. And she knows that if I have any more free time, then I'll be looking for her to get involved in the next harebrained crazy idea that I come
Well,
up
that's
with.
one of the things I said to him. I think whenever you kind of go into retirement, we'll not be creating anything else. I think we'll kind of retire. And I think Alistair has all these dreams and things that he'll talk to me about, and I'm like, oh man, we've just kind of got to where we want to be with this, that, I'm not sure if we're going to start something else. But it's been quite an adventure.
It's good to have dreams and good to be able to share them, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all about the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it definitely is.
That's great. Guys, it's been great talking to you both, and thanks for allowing me to host your conversation. And Kim, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. It's been amazing to have some insight from yourself, from the background information and some of the history.
Yeah.
So you're a real welcome guest in here.
I think Alistair was sweating when he heard I was going to come on. He thought I was going to throw.
I didn't quite know what way to handle this, because I was going to interview you initially, so I thought it was maybe a better way, Mark, for you to take this. And I think Kim's been kind on us. And we've only had to delete about, 30 or 35 minutes of this whole conversation, so it's not been too bad.
You're cheeky.
All right, guys, so we're going to leave it at that one again. So thanks to our guest, Kim, and that's a wrap for this one again, guys. And we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
Thank you.
That's good.